we had a very comprehensive overview of seva activities taking place in all the countries of Zone 4. When I was seeing the visuals of the tsunami, my mind went back to the night of the tsunami. The whole night, 2002, when tsunami hit Indonesia, that's the first time that we recognize that there's a word called tsunami. Till then, we had no idea. The whole night, Swami was awake and he was asking the servitor who was with him, what are they reporting? How many people have died? And he was giving an update. And Swami said, no, many more are affected. So, Bhagwan, who created all of us, created this whole world, is also very much with each one of us and in all our problems. My mind went back almost 10 years prior to the tsunami. One day I was at Swami's lotus feet and an earthquake had taken place in Egypt. And Swami was explaining why these calamities take place. And he said, see, for example, what does man do? For the sake of his tongue, he empties of the ocean with tons and tons of fish. And this creates an imbalance and leads to earthquakes. So I was wondering, Swami, the earthquake is in Egypt, there is no ocean there. It's talking about, we are taking fish and creating imbalance in the water of the ocean. It was only when the tsunami took place, those words came back and hit me. And I realized that whatever calamities take place, it's because of the actions of man. It's not the action of God, it's the action of man. And these are beautiful lines which Swami uttered when an earthquake took place in India, in a state called Gujarat. The epicenter was Bhuj, and the whole, that region got devastated. Swami sent lorries and lorries of relief material with his people to do relief, and Swami was sharing with us in Thrive Vrindavan. He said, see, what has happened is the law of nature, but what I am doing is love of nature. So, for the actions of man, the reaction comes as the law of nature, but it is our duty, our dharma, to respond to everybody in distress. And that, Swami says, is love of nature which he embodied. Continuing into the deliberations on faith that we started, initiated. In a devotee's life, faith is very precious. In the Dhyana Shloka of the great scripture of India, Bhagavad Gita, there is this beautiful stanza. It says, Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat kripa tavaham vande paramananda madhavam. Mukam karoti vachalam. Is it possible for a dumb person to speak eloquently? Yes, it is possible. Pangum langayate girim. Is it possible for a lame person to climb the Alps or climb the Himalayas? Yes, it is possible. How is it possible? Yat kripa tamaham vande. Who gains the grace of the divine, for him everything is possible. Everything is possible. And as I said yesterday, to gain that grace of the divine, a very important prerequisite in the spiritual path is faith. So I thought I'll share some thoughts on this very important prerequisite for progress in our spiritual life. Bhagavad Gita has two important lines which Swami used to often underline. He said, just as a river has two bunds, which protect the waters and keep them in check, similarly for the river of life, if this river of life has to flow smoothly, peacefully, there are two bunds which should keep this river of life in check. The first one, he said, is Shraddhavan labade jnanam. And the second one, he said, Sanshayatma vinashyati. They are like the two sides of the same coin. Shraddhavan labade jnanam. Shraddha, in this context, it means, every word in Sanskrit actually has got so many meanings. In this context, Shraddha means faith. Those who have faith will certainly reach the goal, certainly reach. Yesterday, Brother Suresh Govind was talking about how we should move our conception of ourselves from the body, mind, intellect complex to the Atmic consciousness. So that realizing that who we are will certainly be possible, but the prerequisite is faith, Shraddha. The other part of this river of life, Swami said, Sanshayatma vinishyati. Do not have doubt. Those who doubt will certainly be destroyed. Whether other people will be destroyed or not, that's a question mark. But if there is a doubt, that person will certainly get destroyed, and this is the confirmation of the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita. So on the one hand, we are asked to cultivate firm faith, unshakable faith. On the other hand, we are asked not to doubt, because doubt will destroy our spiritual sadhana. The Swami, was giving his analogies, his stories used to be so unique. So one day in his discourse he was sharing, there was this man who was going on a journey. So he was walking, and in those days that was the main means of transport. It came to afternoon time and he wanted to take some rest, so he found this tree. So he goes and takes rest under the tree. Now the tree happened to be not an ordinary tree. It was a wish-fulfilling tree. Wish-fulfilling tree means, it's called kalpataru. Whatever you ask of it, the tree will give you. So he was traveling since morning and he was thirsty, and he suddenly thought to himself, how wonderful it would be if I could get a cool glass of water. And the next thing that happens is, immediately in front of him, there appears this cold glass of water. And he's so surprised, wow, I just got a thought and the glass of water is here. So he drank that water and he felt that his thirst was slaked. He said, how wonderful would it be if I could now get a nice lunch. I've been traveling since morning, I don't have any food. Immediately, a plate full of dainty dishes manifest there. He said, wow, I just thought about it and it's right in front of me. He said, don't forget, he's under a wish-fulfilling tree. So, he sees that plate, he has his food to his heart, he content. And then he says, now we should have a little nap. How wonderful it would be if I could have a little nice cot here so that I could take a little rest before I proceed on my journey. And lo and behold, there is a cot which manifests there. He said, wow. So he's lying down on the cot. He says, how wonderful it would be if I could have my wife here and if she could press my legs, my aching legs, what a relief it would be. And lo and behold, his wife manifests there, right in front of him and says, my dear, you must be tired, let me press your legs. And she's pressing his legs. He's so surprised that, every thought that is emerging and it's getting immediately realized. And then suddenly he gets this thought, I left my wife at home and I started my journey. How come my wife has come here? In the middle of my journey, how come she has come here and she's serving me? I don't think she is my wife. She must be a demon and she has come here to eat me up. The next moment, he found that his wife got transformed into a demon and gobbled him up. So Swami used this analogy to see when you come under a wish-fulfilling tree, how careful you must be with your thoughts. Because whatever you ask for, the wish-fulfilling tree will give you. So, when you come to a wish-fulfilling tree, like the Lord, what to ask Him? You have to be very, very careful. And Swami would say, many people, they come to a wish-fulfilling tree, but they don't know how to use the wish-fulfilling tree. And they go to the wish-fulfilling tree and they say, can you give me 1 kg of coffee powder? And it's a wish-fulfilling tree, and he says, here is your coffee which you were asking for. He says, say, God, is that wish-fulfilling tree? Should you be asking God for a kg of coffee powder? You can go to the nearest mall and you can buy whatever you like. That's not something which you ask God. But that is man's state. He does not know what to ask. Of course, there are 4 stages or 4 categories of devotees, as the Gita describes. There's the Arthi, Artharthi, Jigyasu and Jnani. These are the 4 categories of people who love God. The Arthi, who's the Arthi? He's the person in distress. He's having problem, like a student, Exam time comes, my God, you should see how the prayers are, rising to the crescendo. Or if it's I don't know which is the favorite sport in Malaysia, is it football or whatever? So in India, cricket is a great passion. So when our Indian cricket team is participating in the World Cup, you should see the kind of intensity of prayers that our students used to have. I remember one day, the World Cup match semi-finals was going on in Eden Gardens, Kolkata, and India was participating in the match. And here in Vrindavan, Swami is speaking to the students. Now he's speaking philosophy, he's speaking spirituality, but all the students are, in the wavelength. Swami, can you stop quickly today? The match is going on in the hostel, we want to go and see the match. So Swami, he caught the vibration of the students' thought. Suddenly he changed his topic and he started speaking about cricket, and he started referring to the match which is going on, and the students become, extremely alert. Wow, Swami is speaking about the match, so what's going to happen? No, because you can get advance notice even before the match is over. Is India going to win or is India going to lose? And then Swami made a statement which made the hearts of all our young patriots sing. Swami said, the final had to be in Pakistan. Swami said, it's good that the Indian team does not go to Pakistan. He hinted for security reasons, it's desirable that the Indian, now if India should not go to Pakistan for the final, they have to lose the match. So that hint was very, very clear to our students. And so, they felt, oh my Lord, Swami is already, So once Swami has made a statement that means no chance for India, and sure enough we lost the match. Sure enough we lost the match. So, when you are in distress, you want something, you want God to give you something, and then God, fulfills your desire. So you feel, He's great, He's great. Or artharti. There's something worldly you want. Swami, I want money, I want position, I want some promotion, I want some whatever. So many worldly desires we have. So that's the artharti. Now, is it wrong? Is it wrong to ask God for all this? Absolutely not wrong. See, that's a beautiful phase of our association with the Lord. You ask Him something and immediately He fulfills it. In fact, I'll share some experience I had as a youngster. A lot of reference was made to service activities. So I was in a city in the eastern part of India. I grew up there, called Kolkata. And our Sathya Sai organization used to take a lot of service activities. One of them was in the month of December, we would take up an eye camp. And those who have participated in an eye camp know when the surgeries are done, for several days the patient has to be kept immobile and the family members or other people have to provide them assistance because the eyes are closed, they can't do anything on their own. So the Seva volunteers used to take care of them till they are discharged. So the organization would hire a school, and for 1 week we would do Seva there, at the end of which the people would then be discharged and the family members would come and take them. So cataract surgery and similar surgeries were undertaken. So we were asked to give names for service, and my grandfather was visiting our home. So I had opted for day service and thought that at least when I come back in the evening I can spend some time with my grandfather. But our Seva service coordinator, he said there was shortage for night duty, so I have not asked you, didn't take a permission, but I have given your name. I couldn't tell my service coordinator, sir, my grandfather is coming. Our elder has said, okay, whatever he said, we will follow. So I had night duty and daytime I used to be with home with grandfather. So it was the first night of the Seva camp, medical camp, and 12 o'clock midnight. We were just 5 youngsters because none of the elders opted for that service. They said, let the youngsters take care. So we were 5 youngsters. I was in my 12th standard at that time, taking care of all those patients who had been operated that day. And for the patients, it was like day, they don't know whether it's night or day. So they were chatting and they were talking and we were trying to give them company. 12 o'clock midnight, suddenly one fellow comes running and he says, hey, Swami's here. Swami's here. Where is he? And we rushed to the next room and there we saw this photograph of Swami, and inside the glass, the photograph has a glass pane. Inside the glass, suddenly we found a small drop of amrit, honey. And you can slowly see it emerging from Swami's photograph, and it started flowing as it trickled. 12 o'clock midnight, the whole world is asleep. Nobody knows what's happening. The patients are there, but they are not aware of what's going on. The only people who can witness this are these 5 youngsters in the medical camp. And only for those 5 youngsters, Swami is manifesting this Amrit inside the photograph. And we felt, and Swami is with us. Swami said, in the Bhagavatam it is said, wherever my name is sung, I manifest. But Swami made a slight modification. Of course, that is definitely valid. He said, wherever my work is done, I manifest. So when we take up seva, actually through seva we will experience Swami, we will experience His presence. See, that's why it's so important to be connected with the Sathya Sai Seva organization, to be connected with seva service activities. So at 12 o'clock midnight, that honey flowing was such an amazing, amazing experience for all of us. 1 week of seva got over, and now the patients have all left, and the seva volunteers are winding up. It's a school, so we are arranging the furniture back in every classroom. And as we were doing, there's this devotee, he came. He said, here, please keep these coupons. What are these coupons? No, we are having a small pick for 3 tickets in the India-England match, international cricket match, which is taking place in the Eden Gardens. So 3 lucky devotees will get a ticket today. So this is a voucher for you for all the seva volunteers. So each one of us got a ticket. After 1 hour, this gentleman again came. I said, what is this? No, this is a voucher for all those seva volunteers who are working till the 11th hour. I said, we have already got the voucher. No. You keep this for the 11th hour seva volunteers, and we are giving this extra ticket. Then we came for lunch, and again lunch is served to everybody, and on the lunch table again 1 more coupon was given to all. So for some of our team, we had 3 vouchers for each one of us in that small basket where lots was about to be taken. And when this person came to give me the first voucher, my friend next to me, he said, hey, I'm telling you, today you are going to get a ticket in the lucky dip. Hey, you can't read anything on my face. Don't create stories like this and create expectations and things. No, I'm telling you, you're going to get it. So finally, lunch got over, we all came to that spot. They said, please now await the results of the lucky dip. And they picked up, and the first name was announced, and it was distributed. Then the second name was picked up, and lo and behold, it happened to be my name. And all the elders, they clapped, oh, this youngster has got a ticket for the test match. Then somebody came later and he said, just before the lucky dip, I went to the basket. I just thought to myself, Swami, who is it that whom you would like to give a ticket? I just want to know. It's not official, but I just want to know. So he put his hand into the basket and picked up 1 chit, and he told me that chit happened to be yours. So it's like, Swami giving you the hint. I reached home. See, usually in those days, my father, whenever an international cricket match would take place, my father would get a ticket and both of us would share. For 1 day, we would go to the stadium, so he would go in the morning, I would go in the afternoon, or vice versa. That year it so happened he could not get a ticket for me. I said, okay. So this time it so happened that when I got the ticket, in the lucky dip, I went with great excitement and told Father, Father, now this time, earlier you used to get the ticket, this time I got a ticket and this time we can share. He said, this is Swami's gift to you for the 1 week of seva that you have done in the medical camp. See, look at it. If God wants to enter your heart, a teenager heart, He can enter with a ticket for a cricket match. So God is interested in everything that we are interested in. See, don't think that He is not interested, oh, there is something, which is spiritual, something which is mundane, something which is professional. What are you interested in? In what you are interested, God is also equally interested. So, that arthati phase of our association with Swami is so beautiful. Of should know how to use it. I mean, so many devotees have confessed that they have also misused it, like going to Swami and saying, Swami, I've constructed a new house. Shall I paint my house blue or shall I paint it yellow? And Swami would say, paint it pink. You know, what all we have not used Swami for. I remember in a discourse, Swami was saying, you know, in India, people pray to me even for a bus ticket. Swami, can you get me, I want to travel to Bangalore, can you get me a ticket? And I shared it with devotees in UK, and last fortnight I was in Singapore. When I was sharing this, some of them also expressed the same thought. So UK devotees were saying, you know what, here in United Kingdom, we pray to Swami, Swami, can you get us some car parking space? Now, again I say, is it right, is it wrong? Nothing, it's absolutely, he is waiting, you know, he's like a servant. He ask me, what? Try me, use me, you know, he loves. You ask him and he gives, and it's a beautiful, beautiful association. So many times, you know, devotees who come for the first time, Swami asks, what do you want? I remember there was this devotee, when he was asked this question in the interview room, he thought to himself, Swami, every time you give some ring or some necklace or some watch to some people, I don't want some inanimate object, I want a live object. So when he made this prayer to Swami, he said, what do you want? Some tiger? Lion? So suddenly, you know, he got unnerved by Swami's reply. He said, no. Suddenly, you know, in the interview room, a lion manifests. I mean, it would have been such an anti-climax. So he quickly thought to himself and he said, no, Swami, a monkey will do. So the moment he said like that, Swami took his two palms like this and lifted his upper palm. The moment he lifted his upper palm, a small monkey came in between his two palms. And Swami kept on lifting his hand, and the monkey started growing, you know, in the palm. And there was, in the interview room, some of you all who have visited may remember, there's a windowsill, a window next to Swami's chair. There's a windowsill where Swami usually would keep the vibhuti basket. So the monkey jumped from Swami's palm onto the windowsill. And then Swami looked at a lady. Hey, there's a banana in your... In those days, people were allowed to take their bags, etc. to the mandir. So there's a banana in your bag. Give it to me. So obviously, I think she would have planned it as her post-darshan breakfast. She didn't anticipate that Swami will be calling for an interview. So she pulled out that banana. Swami took that banana and gives it to the monkey. And the monkey, you know, very nicely, he peels the banana and he's eating the banana. And then Swami started speaking to the devotees as usual. See, this was described to me by one of our students. His mother was an eyewitness to this whole episode. And then the whole thing got over. And then Swami looked at the monkey and he put his hand out again. And from the windowsill, the monkey jumped onto Swami's palm. And then Swami put his hand on the head of the monkey and started bringing it down. And the monkey, right in front of the eye, started becoming smaller, 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 and disappeared. So, you know, when Swami asked, Swami, what do you want? Recently, I was talking to one of our doctors in the General Hospital at Prashanthir. He is a dermatologist from Himachal Pradesh. And he was sharing, I mean, what all we have asked Swami. He said, Swami, I want to see a ghost. I was literally stunned, you know, with his prayer to Swami. I want to see a ghost. I have not seen a ghost in my life. And he was describing, one day it was a Shivratri night, and they had gone for the Sai Bhajans and they were returning to their home, 2 o'clock, the window was open and suddenly, out of the blue, he finds the spirit outside and a terrible stench coming from that direction, and he's visualizing that whatever. So he recognized, oh, this is what has happened. The next thing, so he closes the window and that spirit comes to the other side, and his wife was sitting on the other side, and again the stench is coming, and throughout till they reached the home, they could feel, that bad smell and the presence of that spirit. Finally, when they reached home, it vanished. So, you ask Swami, I want to see a ghost. Tathastu, most welcome. That is the Swami which we have seen and known. So he's like a mother, he'll give you what you want. But why is he doing it? Why is he doing it? Is he interested in just giving us all that? He fulfills our desires. I remember once, it so happened that we were asked to serve in the stadium one day just before 60th birthday of Bhagwan, and Swami announced in the mandir, students from tomorrow onwards don't come for darshan. And my heart sang, Swami, we will not be allowed to come for your darshan. What mistake have we done? And in those days the feeling was there used to be a rumor going on that after 60th birthday, Swami will become very distant, he will not be available, he won't be accessible, and those kinds of things. Swami's 60th birthday is still far away. Today itself you are telling, from now onwards, no darshan. Then the next thing which he said was very reassuring. Next thing he said, every day after college, you all go to the stadium. The stadium, there's a World Bal Vikas conference which is going to take place, and you'll have to prepare the stadium, do service there, and I will come and give darshan to you. So that's what happened, and those were beautiful days. Every day evening we would be doing service in the stadium, and the best part was you have Swami's darshan. His chair would be put in the middle of the ground, and no matter where you're serving in the stadium, you can just look, and Swami is sitting there with a few elders. And another very big attraction was that Swami would send prasadam. So there would be a jeep behind Swami's car carrying all goodies, and it would be distributed to all the volunteers, all the students. So we will look forward, today what is the prasadam? So one day I got an opportunity to serve in the area just behind our hostel, which was a little away from the stadium. So you can't see Swami. So I was cursing myself, what a place they have allotted. Today we can't have Swami's darshan. The second thought which occurred to me, every day Swami is giving only sweets. Why not he give us an apple? Few seconds later, some student comes in running and says, hey, Swami is calling all of us. So, as it is, I was mentally cursing, what is this, they have given us such a spot, we can't see Swami from here, all that. And the moment somebody comes and tells you, hey, Swami is calling, so what a bonanza. So I threw everything there and we all rushed. And I stopped in my tracks when I saw Swami. He was distributing apples. He was distributing apples. And then he looked in my direction. Did I give you an apple? I said, no, Swami. And he threw an apple in my direction. I caught hold of it. And I was really stupefied. I was just thinking, Swami, of course, foolish of me to think, what is wrong? Of course, once when I was sharing this in the presence of some devotees, one of the elders shared, Swami was distributing apples in the mandir. And this gentleman saw Swami giving apples to the students, and he thought to himself, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. So Swami finished the distribution and came to where this gentleman was seated, and he goes up to him and asks, what you're thinking, is it correct? He thought to himself, and he said, he kept quiet first. Again Swami asked, what are you thinking, is it correct? Then he said, Swami, I was thinking, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yes, is it correct? Then the gentleman said, no, Swami, it cannot be correct, because otherwise everybody will have an apple and nobody will fall sick. And Swami said, no, it is correct. The apple I give is not merely an apple. it is a symbol of my grace. And those who have my grace, they will keep the doctor away. So, that was the insight which Swami gave us there. So, this experience, I shared it first in Swami's presence, and of course Swami enjoyed it. 10 years later, another occasion, I was speaking to the students in Swami's presence, and when I narrated this, suddenly Swami looked at me and he said, why we should have those kinds of thought? Whatever Swami gives, we should be happy with that. Why today I got only sweet, I want apple, why that kind of feeling? Look at it. 10 years ago, when I narrated it in Swami's presence, he enjoyed it and he didn't say a word. 10 years later, when I'm narrating it, he gives another kind of insight. Whatever I give, be happy with that. So, you can't be all the time in your kindergarten. From first standard, you have to get promotion to second, to fifth, to higher classes. So, I realized from that Swami gives us what we want. The whole idea is that we start inquiring, what has Swami come to give us? What has Swami come to give us? And that's when you try to migrate from the artharthi stage to a different orbit. And to do that migration, faith is so important. One day a devotee asked Swami, sages in the Himalayas not come to you? Now what a question. Swami said, this avatar is not for them. This avatar is not for the sages in the Himalayas. Why? Because I'm all the time with them. I'm all the time. The sages are with me and I'm with the sages. The Lord is described as Rishi Manas Sanchari, who roams in the minds of the rishis. He's all the time, 24/7 in the minds of the rishis. So, they are with me and I am with them 24/7. So, this avatar is not required for them. This avatar is also not required for that segment of society who in this lifetime will not be able to recognize me. Who will not be able to recognize me? That segment of society, not in terms of material or economic status, in terms of their spiritual status. Maybe their karma is so bad that they will not be able to recognize the divinity in this life. Of course, is Swami biased? No, he says, I will come again for you if you are not ready. But in this lifetime, you don't have that punyam to recognize me. Then Swami, for whom is this avatar? Swami says, this avatar is for people like you. Swami told that devotee, it's for people like you who have faith this minute, and next minute where that faith has vanished into thin air, nobody has a clue. Nobody has a clue. For people like you, this avatar has come. So, to gain faith, having got that faith, to retain that faith is one of the very important aspects on our spiritual journey. Some people say that it's 10:10? Yeah, another 5 minutes? Okay. So, coming to, because we have one more session, so we can continue tomorrow also. But let me come to one important conclusion. Many people ask, I will have faith if I have experience. Swami's contention is, no, faith should be first, then you will get experience. It's like the chicken and egg dilemma. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? So you cannot get experience unless you have faith. So it's very, very important first to have faith. I'll end with this particular episode. It was happened I think 2-3 years ago. One day I was searching for an examiner for one of our new papers in a new program which had been launched in the university. And I was asking so many people, they were not able to give me any names. Finally I remembered that there was this devotee who used to come as a visiting faculty for that particular subject for conducting a practical in Vrindavan, which is our Bangalore campus of the university. So I rang up to him, I said, sir, we need you to set this question paper on this subject. Is it possible for you to do it? He said, sorry, I may not be able to do it because I am a man from industry, I am not from academics. He said, but you are an expert on this field and why don't you make an attempt? He said, okay, I will do my best. So I sent him an e-copy of the book. But look at Swami's devotees, he found it a little uncomfortable. He went to the shop, he purchased the hard copy of the textbook, he set that question paper and sent it over. In time, 2 weeks later, I was having food in the South Indian canteen in Prashanti Ashram. I come out of the canteen and I see this gentleman outside the building and he said, hey, what are you doing here? He said, you know what, yesterday I was going to my office, suddenly I got acute abdomen pain, I went to the hospital. They said, sir, you are having kidney stones, please get admitted today, tomorrow we'll do the surgery. You know, we got so shaken up. And those who have experienced kidney stones know how excruciating pain you go through when you are having that. So he rang up to our friends in our Bangalore campus and they connected him with the super hospital. So he came with all his medical reports. He said, no, before I go for surgery, I need a second opinion. So they looked at all his reports and they said, sir, it is true that you're having kidney stones and we'll give you some medicine for 15 days, just observe. If it doesn't help, we'll do the surgery. So that was his state of mind. I just thought, you know, person is in distress, what else can we tell him? So I just remembered my own experience and I said, 9 years ago, I also had kidney stones. So I was in Vrindavan, I was the principal of our Bangalore campus, and suddenly morning I got up, Swami was in Vrindavan, he was giving darshan there, but I was in no position to go to the darshan hall. I had darshan for my room because I could not sit, I could not lie down, I could not stand, that was the excruciating pain. So the moment darshan got over, I went to the warden and he sent me to the hospital with a student. And I went to meet the doctor and Swami has trained his doctors. So he said, you have kidney stones, but I'll give you some painkiller. The ultrasound specialist is coming in the afternoon. Please meet her. So she came, she did her ultrasound test and everything is there on a screen and she started. And this is the training, Swami has given to his doctors. Very nicely, they know how to speak to patients. He started. You have diamonds in your stomach, she said. So immediately, everything is confirmed. He said, who wants diamonds in the stomach? If you have diamonds in your earrings or rings, something. I don't want diamonds in the stomach. Then she looked at our doctor, who was our hostel doctor also. He said, so-and-so, he has had so many of these diamonds in the past in his life. I said, let him have as many as he wants. I have no aspiration for imitating him. But the sum and substance was that the whole thing got confirmed. And they said that tomorrow the urologist is coming, so please meet the specialist. I went back and then, one of the elders, he was sharing, today afternoon I went to Swami and I mentioned to Swami, our principal has been diagnosed with kidney stones. And then Swami said, nothing like that. It's all gas, he said. Here, you come from the doctor, on the screen they have all this, and here Swami says it's gas. So next day I went to meet the specialist, I met him. He asked me to go have an X-ray, and he's looking at that X-ray report. He's looking at it upside down, scanning it inch by inch, and he said at the end of it, there's no kidney stone in the X-ray. Even if it was there, I think it has gone away. It's gone away. So I just thought to myself, see, look at Swami. He just said, it's all gas. And the stone became gas. So for all its worth, I shared it with my devotee friend. I said, see, this is my experience. For whatever it's worth, I'm just sharing it with you. 2 days later, I meet this person. What happened? He said, what shall I say? I went to the hospital today and the doctor said, we did the tests today, there is no kidney stones for you. See, in my case, Swami mentioned, there is no such stone, it is gas. In this devotee's case, he heard the story of somebody's kidney stone became gas, and by listening to that story, his stone became gas. See, that is the power of the faith of a devotee. With these few words, I close here.